What's going on, guys? My name is Ryan. Thank you so much for watching this video. Today I am going to be sharing my thoughts on the Marvel VFX situation that's going down right now, as well as the ripple effect that has, and more importantly, I'll explain more about this as the video goes on. I do have a message for Hollywood and would like to basically communicate. That's the main point of this video, is basically to just communicate my thoughts on what's happening with the VFX artist situation, the treatment of those VFX artists, and how that, like I said, the ripple effect really does affect the film industry as a whole. So again, I just want to be pretty upfront. I'm just a movie fan. You know, I'm not a critic. I'm not a film reviewer, obviously. As someone who loves the film industry, I am very concerned about how this situation is affecting the industry as a whole. Now, basically, to explain what's happening, I'm going to take it back a couple years, back to 2015, when these problems first started being quietly talked about. So essentially what's going on is back in 2015, back in 2008, when the MCU first started, stands for Marvel Cinematic Universe, Iron Man was released. They didn't know how huge of a hit that was going to be, and then it just skyrocketed. It was super popular, made tons of money. And then the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as we know and love it, was born. From there, they pretty much consistently released 1 to 2 movies a year, and that was fine, and the CGI was looking really good, the characters were good, they had the audience, in the palm of their hand, so they had a ton of creative control, and they had a really good machine working. No, clogs, nothing breaking. The machine was just fully, fine-tuned, fully oiled, just like full steam ahead. Essentially, what ended up happening is the MCU just took off. It kept going and going. It got more and more popular. And as they went on and they started making more money, they started making more movies. So now we're looking at not just 1 to 2 movies a year. We're looking at 3 to 4 movies a year, sometimes 5 movies a year. And at this point, they're still doing pretty good, though. The CGI looks really good. The characters are still strong. Each movie doesn't feel like it's setting up the next movie, but there's just clever tie-ins to connect them all in like one universe. But they haven't gotten to the point where they're at now, where they've just done so much, especially when Disney Plus came into the picture around 2020 during COVID and the pandemic and streaming. All the TV shows started coming out, like WandaVision, Loki, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And at that point, when you had, you take an audience and you tell them, here's what we're selling. And they like that, and they keep going with it. Then you say, okay, well, if you really like this series, you also have to watch the TV shows. Because it would be one thing if the TV shows were there for like the hardcore fans to watch, but you could still just be like a casual, like sort of like myself, a casual Marvel fan and just catch the movies in theaters. Now you actually have to, Marvel is asking people to have to watch everything. And that's a lot of homework. And most recently with their newest release, The Marvels, it's tanking. It's currently the shortest runtime of any of the Marvel movies, as well as the lowest performing box office, which is really sad because Captain Marvel, the movie before it, was huge when it came out, but it was also coming out right between that Infinity War and Endgame gap back in 2018 and 2019. Bringing it back to the VFX artists, though, what started happening is obviously the MCU starts pumping out more and more projects. That means they're still pumping out the same amount, if not more. Those artists still have to fix things. They still have to get all that work done. And there's multiple things going on here because on the one hand, they're overworked. They don't have enough time to do anything. And this was detailed back in a Variety article that was released a couple months ago, back at the beginning of this year. But essentially, this article that was released basically revealed that these artists are being overworked. They don't have time to go home to their families. They're skipping meals. They're just given unrealistic deadlines and then asked to perform when the pressure kicks in and get it all done. And that's just not really realistic. The other thing, and again, this goes to the another added problem or side effect rather of Marvel pumping out too much and not being able to maintain quality over quantity, is that they're starting to run into issues with storylines not quite adding up. Because again, all of this is connected. So now you've got things that aren't quite making sense. So then they're asking the artists when they've already released a deadline, sometimes it could be weeks, months away from whenever the project they're working on is supposed to be released. They'll give them notes and say, oh no, that thing you just spent like 6 months working on, that shot, you actually have to redo that. We're scrapping it and you have to do this shot instead, because that shot technically doesn't add up in the timeline. So now you have these artists being overworked. They're given unrealistic expectations to get the work done. And on top of all that, things just aren't gelling at the company. Mistakes are being made. And most importantly, though, these VFX artists are walking, which is sad because these artists, I mean, you have to keep in mind the machine that is Marvel now. You think back to like 10 years ago, when even 5 years ago, before, COVID, 6, I guess, when they were huge, it would be an honor. It'd be any VFX artist's dream to be able to work on a Marvel movie. And that's what they've said. The article has been very clear detailing these, they have certain interviews with people and people speaking out, all anonymous, of course, but these artists have expressed how frustrating this is because they said, obviously working for Marvel is a huge deal. It's an advancement in our careers. It can put us on the map, get us widespread traction and attention, but it's not worth it. Working for Marvel is hell, in their own words, and they're done with it. So now they're walking, and that's when everything starts to connect, kind of like the universe. Everything starts to connect, and that's when this ripple effect really happens. Start seeing the effect of what is happening in Hollywood as a result of the VFX artists being worked and walking, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole, really. Essentially, and to sum it all up and bring it all home, this is what's happening. People vote with their wallets. Sorry again if the camera angle changed. I really apologize. I keep running out of storage, so then I have to adjust things. So anyway, to continue on, as I was saying, we vote with our wallets, and for years, the MCU was still doing pretty well consistency-wise. We kept going to see them, they kept making money, and as a result, they wanted more money because they got greedy. That's just how things work. And they started pumping out more volume, and they couldn't keep up with the quality, so it became a quantity over quality versus quality over quantity type of thing. And now, since that is currently dominating movie theaters, the Marvel movies and any like Star Wars, any basically like Disney properties, if those are the movies that are still keeping movie theaters in business and people are showing up for, and now people are complaining that the VFX and the CGI suck and they don't look as good, and it's true because you take it back to movies that came out earlier in the 2010s, the 2012s, whatever, with Marvel, or just movies in general, the CGI looks better. The green screen looks better. And it doesn't make much sense until all of this came out, and now it's all connecting. The issue here, and again with that ripple effect, like I said, if the only franchise that's keeping movie theaters open is starting to dwindle, and the box office for the newest release, the Marvels, is showing that, movie theaters aren't going to be around much longer. And obviously that's that's a whole other issue entirely, but all of this stuff connects. And that's really where, as a concerned fan and a lover of film and cinema, that's where I start to think, okay, I need to say something. I need to put my voice out there among many other, because a lot of people I actually know personally are doing the same thing I'm doing. Evidently, I'm also doing this for school, but this is like a really legitimately important thing, because this could drastically change the future of movie theaters, of the film industry, and it's all starting right here, and it's unfolding before my eyes, and it's really freaking me out. So Hollywood, I don't know, chances of anyone seeing this video are slim to none, but on the off chance that some Hollywood exec with a little bit of a conscience left happens to see this video, please stop overworking Marvel. Please, obviously the strike with the Screen Actors Guild and the writer's strike, all of that, and the actor's strike, it's all been very negative. I mean, a good, the strike that happened is good, but the effect that all of this has been very negative on Hollywood and the film industry. So please, anyone listening, if you're in a position of power to do something, or to make a change here, please do so, because the future of the film industry that we love is at stake here. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and to listen to me talk about my thoughts on the current situation going on with VFX artists and Marvel in Hollywood.